Last autumn I had been spending long hours in the studio, surrounded by paints and color palettes. One afternoon something pulled me away from the workbench and out into the forest. At first my mind was still somewhere between brushes and miniatures. But as I walked, something slowly caught my attention. The leaves, the moss, the bark, the earth. The colors were incredibly varied, and yet everything felt perfectly harmonious. Nothing clashed, nothing felt forced. It was as if the entire forest had been painted from a single palette. And in that moment I realized something. The way nature handles color is often very different from how we approach it in miniature painting. That quiet discovery became the starting point for this project. For this Kroot Warrior I wanted to explore that same kind of harmony I had seen in the forest. So I limited myself to a very small palette. Just 9 colors in total, all of them sit close together on the color wheel. A similar principle to the harmony I had noticed in the forest. This idea isn't new though. Many classical painters worked in a very similar way. Artists like Rembrandt often built entire paintings from just a few earthy pigments, yellows, ochres and browns, relying on value rather than color contrast. The same principles can easily be applied to miniature painting. Over a black primer I started with a dark, strong brown. From here the colors gradually begin to move toward the light. To this point the skin was built up with a dry brush, establishing the main volumes very quickly. For the smaller elements I switched back to a regular brush. For the metal I introduce a deep brownish bronze, reminiscent of aged bronze alloys. Instead of using a cold silver which would disrupt the harmony of the palette, I chose a metal tone that remains within the same earthy range. From here the highlights begin to develop freely on the palette. The metallic highlights are then built up with small adjustments on the palette. Deliberately allow metallic and non-metallic paints to intermix throughout this process. Returning to deep brown, the paint is now thinned down and applied almost like a glaze, allowing the underlying highlights to softly shine through. With this translucent layer, the quiz, the nails and the crest are gently established. A few final accents are introduced, small points of light, just enough to bring focus and life to the surface. A more detailed version of this piece explores the painting in greater depth, including additional steps and material not shown here. For a closer look at the process including each color and the decisions behind it, it is available on Patreon. In the end, the miniature returns to the forest where the idea first appeared. The Kroot are creatures closely tied to their environment. Using an analogous palette helps reinforce that idea visually. The colors feel related, almost as if they grew out of the same landscape, and sometimes that quiet relationship between colors can be more powerful than contrast alone. When working with an analogous palette, restraint becomes important. If too many colors enter the scheme, the harmony breaks. So throughout the painting process, I try to keep asking a simple question. Does this color still belong to the same world? Small variations are welcome. They make the surface interesting, but the overall family of colors remains consistent. This allows the miniature to feel visually calm, even when there's a lot of texture and detail.